So should we start, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. A very good morning to all dignitaries and participants. I, Shreyas Dwivedi, Junior Consultant, Resilient Infrastructure Division, welcomes you all on this webinar about health assessment of critical infrastructures, organized by National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. First of all, I would like to thank our Executive Director of NIDM for allowing us to conduct this webinar on a very useful and interesting topic. I am very grateful of Professor Chandan Ghosh, Head Resilient Infrastructure Division NIDM, for giving us this opportunity and for guiding us continuous support to conducting this webinar. I welcome Dr. Garima Agrawal, Senior Consultant, RID NIDM, convener of today's program. So participant, today we are going to discuss the health assessment of critical infrastructures. As we know that changing climate is directly impacting the extreme weather events, these events are impacting the lives of all around the globe and resulting in a higher loss of life, material and non-material damages. Certain type of infrastructures play vital roles in underpinning our economy, security and way of life, such as governance, health, education, energy, economy, and social and general security functions. Both natural and man-made incidents have a potential to harm, damage, or destroy critical infrastructures. We cannot prevent the impact of these extreme natural events or critical infrastructures, but we can make it more resilient by proper monitoring. So this is our today's agenda. So first of all, I would like to welcome Dr. Garima Agrawal to set the context for today's webinar. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Shreyas. Very warm welcome to all of you. And I'm sure Professor Jayant Pathak, Department of Civil Engineering, Assam Engineering College, will also join us for a session today. And Professor Chandan Ghosh is already there. He's our head of resilient infrastructure, and he is also going to take a very important discussion and the topic of presentation on the same. So you all may be aware that NIDM has been established as an apex institute of Government of India for capacity building in various areas of disaster risk management. And as a national level capacity building institute, NIDM is mandated to hold the training programs, research programs, online training programs with various stakeholders and state government organizations. And this particular webinar is also a kind of initiative under NIDM's overall umbrella of capacity building exercise. As we are aware that India is exposed to multiple hazards and has experienced several disasters in the past, such as cyclones, tsunami, floods, landslides, earthquakes, forest fire, and besides other man-made disasters, she has already given a kind of glimpse what kind of disasters we can have and what kind of impact it can have on on already existing infrastructure. So over the years, the global warming and climate change, and also the having impact on the frequency of extreme weather events such as lightning, urban flooding, and torrential rains, heat waves, cloud bursts are also increasing tremendously. We all will agree that India is urbanizing fast, and it is expected that urban population of India is going to grow like 81 crore by 2050. Many peri-urban areas and rural areas are the zones of transition from urban to rural land uses, and they are set to be urbanized in near future. So this transition phase has encouraged the physical development, the socio-economic activities, and construction activities in the fast-growing rural regions also. So in fact, our Honorable Prime Minister in 2016 during Asian Ministerial Conference for Disaster Reduction had highlighted that the new infrastructure shall be made disaster resilient, which is an important contribution towards attaining the sustainable development goals. However, the fact cannot be denied that a lot of new construction has already been constructed, and it is expected that although huge, a lot of infrastructure which is already built in is in question for its sustainability. We all know that post-independence, the towns were planned based on the huge demand of industrial, commercial, and residential activities. The towns such as Durgapur, Bhilai, Raurkela, Jamshedpur, Mumbai, Delhi, Shimla, Kodaikanal, etc. got developed due to their climate and resources and productivities. During those times, the urban planning was not into much practice, and cities got flourished over the regions having rivers and good climatic conditions. Haphazard development of the towns and cities are quite common in India. Maintenance of old buildings are another areas of concern. Unfortunately, many such urban areas which are seismically vulnerable as well as vulnerable to various other disasters such as landslides, floods, and cyclones. We are already facing several problems arising out of increasing urbanization. The phenomena of urban flooding is another area which raises question regarding the current urban construction practices and sustainability. Earthquake alone is an hazardous event which is capable of causing huge damage or destruction to the existing infrastructure, especially in the areas which are located in Earth seismic zone 4 and 5. There is a report of NDMA uh, uh, which is like a primer on RVS. They have published it in 2020, and they have highlighted that about 300 million buildings are already built in India which with several deficiencies, and that raises a concern on how to assess the earthquake safety of these existing buildings. NDMA has also in 2019 conducted a study of a survey of 50 cities which are over different seismic risk zone, and they have calculated that earthquake disaster risk index of these cities. And the final result of that index indicates that out of 50 cities, only 7 are the cities which are on low risk, and other 30 cities are at medium risk, and 30 cities are of high risk. For broader understanding of the susceptibility of seismic vulnerable 50 cities towards the natural disasters, I tried to overlay the position of these cities over different geographical features such as terrain, coastal area, rivers, and their tributaries, and so on. And I found out that all the 50 cities which are lying on seismic zone 3, 4, and 5 could also be vulnerable over various multiple hazards such as floods, landslides, cloudbursts, cyclones, tsunamis, and landslides. Although fire is something which we are not considering in it. Otherwise, natural disaster as well as man-made disaster, both disasters these cities are prone to. Therefore, reviewing and assessing the state of critical infrastructure and services on regular basis is extremely important, and it helps us to understand the health of the buildings. Rapid visual screening is a technique which can bring better insight into the structural safety, and the purpose of this tool is to understand the risk of that community, that town, or the city that might face from the standpoint of collapse of a house or a building during any local disaster. So this technique can be used for determining whether the building can be occupied in the current condition or some strengthening is necessary, retrofitting, repairing, or relocation is required. So that kind of strategies can be drawn based on this technique. So this webinar is an effort to sensitize the construction community and the related professionals to understand the different methods of conducting infrastructure health assessments. The knowledge being created through this platform will help us to make us aware about how our health of the building is important to be calculated and how we can gear up ourselves for mitigating the impact of disasters so that we can minimize the loss of lives and properties which happens due to collapse or damage of poor buildings, and by adopting simple methods of mitigation measures can help us to reducing that risk. So this would be the context, overall context of this today's webinar. And I welcome each and every one of you once again. And I request you all to kindly be ready with your questions regarding this topic, because we have two extremely experienced people, those who are working in this area since 30 years or so. And they have done a lot of work on the ground on this, are with us, Professor Ghosh and also Professor Jayant. So it is an opportunity to have them on this platform, and we must ask questions and have a kind of discussion during this 2 hours webinar. With this, I thanks Shreyas and welcome once again, everyone. Yes, back to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us an idea about what we are going to discuss today and letting us know about the scenario of urban areas in our country. So critical infrastructures are the primary and physical infrastructure structures, technical facilities and systems which are socially, economically, and or operationally essential to the functioning of a society or community or in a both. So we have lot of critical infrastructures in the sectors like energy, health, transport, financial areas, ICT, water, food, and there is one idea which we are going to discuss about in today's first lecture, who is going to be delivered by Professor Chandan Ghosh. It is about the grading system for building health. Sir will give you the more idea about what it is and how it can be done. And he is our head in Resilient Infrastructure Division and serving in NIDM from 2006. He is doctor engineer from Japan, and also he is a pioneer name in the structural engineering, civil engineering, and bioengineering. So, with this brief introduction, welcome you, sir, and over to you. Participants, I request you all to participate in this webinar. You can ask the questions in chat box, and otherwise you can raise your hand so I can unmute you and you can ask your questions directly. Thank you very much. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Shesh, for taking up this webinar. Today is 28th, and also Garimaji for giving a initial introduction to the importance of critical infrastructure, how they are becoming structure we make for our own living, for own facility, for like metro, for tunnels, for roads, and so many structures are there. Even parking, a good parking facility is also a structure in the community where we go, or even open gym that which are there available. So these are all part and parcel of our living, whether it is in the city or in the village. So to take it to this level of why they are becoming critical, because otherwise we give even some importance to our health, our own health, human health, or even our uh, say whatever pet animal that we are keeping. It may be, or even in our locality that even some street dogs, how they are being treated or how they are being taken care. So in that way, we have the innate nature of taking care of not only of ourselves, our ambience, our environment, and whatever things that I like or I don't like, or whatever things that community is accepting, or for the community that we have to serve. Ultimately, we have created so many things. We have got many things from the nature, so we have to take care of them. That is what that I wanted to say. So let me share a few slides on this, on various aspects that how we can become rather than critical is one thing, but what are the solution? What are the solution and how we have to take care, and how many of you who are attending, you are taking care many things. So here infrastructure incorporates so many things. Let us come from the structure point of view, earthquake point of view, landslide point of view, or even flood point of view, that how those structures are becoming vulnerable and what are the care that we have to take. So first of all, I'd like to, can you give me share button?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me share the screen. The issue is critical infrastructure. So in that case, critical has no such mathematical definition until and unless it goes through certain process, and like nuclear power generation, it becomes critical. Critical is in stage, so which is defined through the process that goes on in the nuclear power reactor. But at the same, when we talk about critical infrastructure, not everything is critical. Ultimately, we are living. I am here before you. You are all attending this. So there are so many uh, so many things like online we are connected. So so many connections, so many contributions, so many things working together to make you, me, all together in this platform where we are sharing the kind of information, the discussion that we are taking place. So in that way, then how to keep this thing resilient? Because how to keep this functioning free from obvious dangers? So in that case, like today morning, no water came to our locality. So we didn't have any water. So we could not run our pump. But one thing is 450 family community in that. There are so many colonies are there. Wherever I live in South Delhi, every colonies now have come forward with making a WhatsApp group. So whether water is going to come or not at 5 o'clock, then in the WhatsApp, it is being intimated. So everybody is said that, oh, today water is not coming. Then again at 6 o'clock in the evening, then again, so every one of us, we are all well informed through a WhatsApp, which is very easy. It doesn't need to pay anything, but with the kind of technology that available, with the kind of information revolution that has taken place for the last so many years, so we are now a well-informed society. Accordingly, we have to see from this angle, today's discussion, we have to look at how many people living in that area, what is their average consumption of the water. The average consumption for a particular family in our locality, in that gated colony, we are keeping 1000 liter storage, which will be always in store. Whenever water is there on the line, it will get automatically stored 1000. And then when we run the our say pump, then it will lift the pump to the upper storage, which is again 1000 liter. So for a family of 4, we know that what is the average expenses or average say usage of the water. Maybe how long we can survive without water. Last evening also it has not come. Today morning also it has not come. So far, it has not given any trigger or alarming situation. It has not created. But how long this can continue for an average family? Average family per head, when we take water consumption, it is about say 120 liter per day per person. So if it is 120 liter, so if we have 2000 maximum storage, then at least we can have a buffer stock of 4% every day 500 according to that math. So every day 500, so we can have a buffer stock for maximum 3 more days. So already 1 day has not come. So then in that case, we have to see that what are the water supply system, who are the people working there round the clock to see that the critical stage of exceeding 2 continuous days of water supply is not broken or is not disturbed, or it is maintained, not maximum 2 days can be tolerated. Otherwise there will be a huge crisis, as you know. So critical to crisis, and then cooperation, and then maintenance, and so many chain actions are there. So in that case, then again, then when I take this health checkup for built up facilities, that includes even water supply also to that sense. So let us see that what are the health checkup that we can do and how it is different when I'm saying that post-disaster forensics. There must be, when water has not come, for example, where I'm taking, water has not come in, there are certain event might have happened that where water leakage is there, or some pipeline, despite keeping that pipeline may be broken, some reservoir may be cleaning operation is going on. There are so many things goes on. So in that case, we have to look at that, why it has gone wrong, and how we have to ensure that this critical 4 days storage should not exceed. That kind of decision-making chain actions have to be in command. And then when a building is broken due to earthquake, or due to landslide. You will see many such slides. Then we go to the site, we see that, oh, this is how it has broken. Then when civil engineers, especially those who are familiar with disaster, especially building collapse like this and still standing before, and see that nothing has happened to the structural member. From civil engineering side, you know, the columns are there. These are the columns which are standing. These are standing. So these are the beams which are intact. Whatever has happened, and at least after earthquake, this is from Govt, what happened last year in April, that one earthquake about 100 kilometers away on the other side of the river has taken, and then it has broken several buildings, and then some investigations have been taken place. Some of the things or failure patterns are being noted. And then finally, why they are broken, a report might have been submitted by various agencies, even IITs or many experts that are available with the SDMA or even with the state government. Report has been submitted, and later on that whether these buildings are repairable or not, if it is, how much cost, who will do, and whether it is public property or private property, and then all those activities after an event which has caused this kind of damages, then those things again goes on. And every time things happen, then we try to become resilient enough. So next time such earthquake, if it comes, then it should not impact our buildings in this manner, the way that it is being shown in this picture. On the other hand, it should not also do this, but things has happened. Here I'm showing the things that it is whatever post-disaster, post-disaster scenario. We go there, we check, they are also checking. This is not in our country, but it is in other countries. This kind of event that happened due to earthquake, the sub-story collapsed and it has collapsed along with the car. So car may be having insurance, and then insurance people will face the flag of such kind of event that which go when unregulated or unnoticed, or it was not taken into account that such event means earthquake here is an event. When it happens that it is going to cause such kind of distress which was not assumed, or which was not given any such kind of guarantee or any such kind of projected damage that which is being seen over here by the builders or contractor or whoever have made this building, giving a guarantee, giving a certificate, passing on those certificate, and then adding those material quality, and like AC is here, and these windows are there, all become useless because this building cannot be rehabilitated. This building can be rehabilitated. So health checkup in a broader sense, I would say, it is that not only that pre-disaster or pre-event, like in this case it is earthquake in both the cases, but even after the event, whether repairing is possible, whether rehabilitation is possible or not, whether this building can be, because here you see upper portion is completely intact, then how much cost it can be. So you can see that when we look at the post-event forensics, you can say, post-disaster forensics, which I would like to say over here, on both the cases shown over here, then we have to do a series of activities to look into that. Why it has happened to this building, why not in another building? All those aspects have to be looked into in details while taking up rehabilitation, retrofitting, or recovery program, whether it is with the building or even with the entire locality, which I am going to show one by one. But when the word forensics, you see, note it that when word forensics means, we know that there are so many novels or so many things like film or documentary evidence and investigation. There are so many things are available, and we are familiar with that murder cases, that how they study. So I used to show this one, how different this one with this one that which I have been discussing for the last 5-7 minutes. So this is different, but this is after the murder. The experts are there, they are investigating. Here also, after things has happened due to earthquake and these cars are broken, then we come forward to check in the field. Of course, in that case, we have to see that whether the building is to be demolished, or because we cannot question the earthquake, that why it has attacked our building. We have to look at it ourselves with our expertise, with our system, that the building that we have made, whether you knew that that building is located in earthquake prone area. For that, what kind of information available, what kind of knowledge base is available, what kind of data, previous data, history is available with us, whether as an expert before constructing or before giving a certificate by the municipality, or completion certificate, or even fire checkups are being done, even the material being placed in, the kind of foundation that made, whether they are appropriately made based on the historical events that taking place, or knowledge base that available, information, experts, expertise that available, whether they are consulted or not. So it is again same thing after event happened, that before that event whether enough care was taken or not. So those kind of check also are available in case of building. So here they will look back, what is the history behind this person, and what kind of person he was, what was his folly, who are his enemies. Here enemy, we can say it is earthquake, but I would like to show you how earthquake like things that which are happening naturally and causing such kind of damage to our establishment, even crashing the even car, even which may be the cars may be more costlier than the flat that owner is having. So in that case, we bring out a lot of queries and then we try to resolve them after the event. But when we talk about the disaster resilience, we have to take before things happen. What kind of protections do we make? What are the methodology being used? So it is as a homeowner who are not supposed to know all these things, but there are experts are there, architects are there, civil engineers are there, earthquake experts are there, foundation experts are there. How those people have to brought in to investigate the things that has happened in this area. Similarly, we hire a person that who is having long experience to check that why it has gone. And there are lots of movies and documentaries gives us a proof. So now keeping aside this photograph, whatever it is, not giving any such corollary or any kind of comparison with that, let us come into the basic thing that what has caused this building to fail, but ultimately it is by an earthquake. But what earthquake does to our foundation or our building? What earthquake does to our building, and how we in our civil engineering, especially geotechnical engineering, geology, geomorphology, how we look at the micro level or even granular level, what happens to the building. So it is a photograph taken from various sources that available, that it is a photograph that ultimately we construct building on foundation or on a good foundation, on a bedrock or whatever. We have to investigate that. And in this case, you see that the grains and the foundation or building, they are the soil particles, rocks, and all these things are there. So we have got certain kind of understanding about when the building is made here to this height, and how much load that it is transferring. For that, we have got the formula, we have got easy calculation that how much load it is transferring. Whether it is this shape of building, whether it is this shape of building, ultimately all the load, we call it live load and dead load. Dead load is whatever is the concrete that we are using, or even bamboo if we are using. Even there are many kinds of construction materials are there. In that case, what is the dead load? What is the load of that? Mass into G. What is the load of that being transferred? In which way it is being transferred? And finally, how this is a bedrock below, the soil that on which it is being constructed, what kind of foundation to be provided. So these are all being authenticated in the books, textbooks, journals, publications, conferences, seminars, and all these things are being discussed. And these are all known for centuries before to till date. And we are refining, regaining. When earthquake-like things that happens like this, then we again look back into that. What was the flaw while making this building? And what are the things that we knew about the soil before the construction of this building? And the things that we knew, whether it is authenticated, checked, verified by the expert, qualified experts. Of course, experts are always qualified, but qualified to check that whether the load that which is coming over here, whether they are being transferred through the grain, through these, for that mechanics formula, equation, bearing capacity, and factor of safety, all these things are being taught to the third year, fourth year civil engineering students. So when it is loosely packed grains of soils are held together by friction, you see some frictions are there. Pore spaces are filled with water. So the kind of event that happened over here, it is all due to some other event, but of course, earthquake waves generated through the soil, and then finally structurally this was deficient, which I'll show later through a video, through an experimental video. Structurally, it was deficient, so that is why it has failed over the car that which were parking over there. But at the same time, we look at that a building having a foundation which is below the ground, which you don't see, but we have proper understanding, keeping in mind that ultimately all the load from the building, from the superstructure, has to pass through the soil through a grain to grain contract. And it is also possible that it is not that all dry, there are groundwater tables are there, and we take care of what is the impact of groundwater table. Today, the place where construction is going on, now it is not rainy season has gone. It may not be having groundwater below the foundation. Generally, for a building like these, foundations are limited to maybe 2 meter depth. So within 2 meter means 6-7 feet, we have to check that water may not be there. But during rainy season, that may be inundated with water. You know that so many urban floods that are happening. And of course, there are minimum cases that due to urban flood, that when water was not there, maybe rest 9 months of the year, but during rainy season, water is there. So you will see that there is hardly any case that due to urban flood, due to the saturated water or due to extra water table that which have rise enough that any building has broken. There may be some deterioration, which again I will show. There may be some dampness and other thing, but structurally, we see that there is hardly any cases of foundation collapse or building collapse or anything, until and unless some other effect is there onto the building. There are many such case studies are there. So we take care of these things before making construction, that we take care of assuming that water table, it is going to be flooded someday in its lifetime. So in that case, what is the kind of capacity of the ground to hold this building load into itself up to say 6-7 feet below that. Before 6-7 feet for this kind of 4-story building, 6-7, in fact, we make our foundation below 5 feet or even say 1.5 meter below. And after that, we may see that whatever is the width, say this width, say 5 meter, if it is 5 meters, say 15 feet or 16 feet, we generally become concerned 1.5 to 2 times of that 16 feet, means 24 feet, means about 7-8 meter. So that is why we have to go for certain kind of soil investigation. In some of the strategic cases, significantly, some strategic cases, not for ordinary building, where we know that soil property below, because we see that many other buildings have been constructed on the same type of soil. There is possibility that soil will be same. So we take it, just we don't recommend that to go for soil investigation for every household, especially residential building, when we know that many other buildings are standing for years together. So there is a lot of judgment, there are a lot of justifications and experience and how other buildings behaving in the surrounding area. So we look into those aspects. then only we design the building and give some kind of certification or guarantee that, yes, this is the bearing capacity, you can make this much of building. And on the same soil, when you are going for, here it is a 5-story, we are going for maybe 10-story, 100-story, 200-story. Then types of foundation have to be changed, which is the subject matter that which are very efficiently dealt with in civil engineering, geotechnical engineering, and other branches. But thing is, when same thing, when we do not look into so many things that I have been talking, of course, I know that many things are to be looked into, and it is not so easy to go for an investigation to find out the real cause of the murder. There are lots of mystery, a lot of things have to be seen, has to be created, we know. So we also do similar kind of thing, that what we take some samples from here, like they take here some kind of, is there anyone touched or some kind of, thumb impressions and other thing, any other mark is there or not. So we also look at when building has failed like this, then we first check that what has gone wrong. We see that upper part here, it is being undulated. Here it is plain. It means some kind of liquefaction or shaking has caused some liquefaction, and soil was not compacted enough. So there are many angles by which we investigate and find out the reason. And then when that reason is there, then we take care of whether this building can be rehabilitated or not. You see this building totally collapsed. This one has gone down. So in that case, whether rehabilitation of the building, pulling out this building, you know that famous, Tower of Pisa, no? Pisa Tower. It is already known that that Leaning Tower of Pisa has become so much in Italy, has become so famous, but it is still tilled for more than 800 years. But these engineers, they have tried more than 20 years back to stop its tilting any further to a critical angle. If that crossed, people, the experts have analyzed that what is that critical angle that which is being tilted over here. If it is going below, above that, then it will fall down on its own. So everything has got, whether this pan, if I am standing over here, if I am keeping it here, it may stand. But if it is plain enough, it can stand over here. But like here you see, it may stand, or you can see that it may stand like this. But when it will go, it is leaning, and it is leaning like this, and after it goes, then it will fall down. So this kind of analysis, this kind of mechanics, this kind of behavior, we not only conduct in the laboratory, but also in field also. So even in case of Leaning Tower of Pisa, they have analyzed that what is that critical angle beyond which, if it is allowed to settle, if allowed to tilt, then we will not be able to save it. So international contract was given for some several million euros were given to bring it back to certain level so that it is stable. So for the last 20+ years, it is stable. A wonderful case study is available in the internet free of cost. You can look into that. So this is in total, I would say that what is health checkup after the things, before, and then after things happen, what are the decisions being taken? So there are many branches and specializations have come in. And in this area especially, I would like to share with you that our entire world is very much concerned about the structure that we have built up, or we are building every year, every time, new milestone that we are reaching. They have certain age, of course, which cannot be calculated exactly. Like Qutub Minar is still here, and many other things are even more than 2000 years old. They are intact. But some of the buildings constructed in our locality or in the city, or some contractor or some builders or some way, they are losing their power to stand, in functioning. So in that case, there is no guarantee specially given by civil engineer, because it is, if it is engineering design is there, yes, we can say that 70 years, 80 years, 100 years, 200 years, or something like that. But there is nothing like guarantee that we can give. But if all the principles and methodologies, checking, material, and those are followed, then we say that yes, at least 50 years can be the life of the structure. But it all depends on how we are checking the health during its normal functioning. If we keep on just allowing our rooftop, say, building, I'll show, if proper drainage or is not taken care, then it will eat up or it will percolate into the roof and it will make the building totally inhabitable. So in that case, health checkup and taking care of the building is to be taken up as we take care of our pets or for our own health to a greater extent. For the building, for the infrastructure, for the public pathways or park or even lakes and even railways, everything needs proper care to in order to make them their service conditions become affable uh, to the uh, to the life that we are dealing with. I often show that how fast, like this is also affected by an earthquake in Japan, 2011, 11 March, and it has killed more than 20,000 people, and also it has caused devastation to the nuclear power station by tsunami. So it is an earthquake more than 200 kilometers away offshore, created tsunami. Warning was there, but warning came in time. People have been evacuated. But when the water entered into the nuclear power facility, then it has burst and then radiation came in. So it is and building collapsed and people got a lot of water inundation and then radiation and then shaking all together. You see, one of the just scenario of the infrastructure, because road is also one of the infrastructure. And so this is broken to the extent that here, just before we are talking about the foundation has to be looked into, whether it is loose packed, whether it is packed or dense condition or not. Depending on that, if water is there, then liquefaction will happen. And if liquefaction happens, then over the ground, whatever building, tunnels, roads are there, they are going to be affected. So that is some methodology system is there to check whether soil is liquefiable or not. If it is liquefiable, then what kind of measures have to be taken? So this subject area is also very much for the last 60 years. It is very much, enriched that we pre-assess the condition of the soil. Pre-assess the condition of the soil before any construction made. Any construction, it may be tower like this, it may be road like this, it may be monument, it may be anything. We pre-assess the soil condition and then we say that what kind of measures or improvement has to be taken, then only we can construct something. So it is some investigation takes place before construction starts. Then we take those parameters and then we give a design and then we make the construction. So for civil engineers, before making anything physically, whether it is a road, building or tunnel or a park or anything, we have to have a preemptive assessment about the situation and then make AutoCAD drawings are there. We make everything before it is being physically made, before it is being implemented, before it is being constructed. So you think of that, here a group of experts and which are having a systematic study, research, experimentation, then deliberations, and there are so many conferences and so many meeting of the experts takes place where they make and create something that first in paper mode, and then that whatever in paper or in drawing or in AutoCAD drawing in 3D animation, earthquake effect we take into that, flood effect we look into that, we simulate all those things. Well, it satisfies that all angle, the things that known to us in our discipline, then only we take a coherent decision to go for the construction, to go for the making of that in the real life. So, but why I have given so much of details in this area so far in the first 2-3 slides is that I want to highlight here with the background that which I have told just now. Even in Japan also, even across the world, we do not have enough, the complexity of the ground behavior that which you can see over here on a road where no building is there due to earthquake is not yet addressed while making the road. So we have to see that when soil over here has given in, where there is no load except that this kind of pavement has been constructed, there is no car you can see. So no load is being added here, but still earthquake has severed this road. And there are so many roads are there, so many earthquake affected areas are there, which we have identified also, like Delhi is in seismic zone 4, or entire northeast part of the India is seismic zone 5. Despite such kind of zonation and identification, and accordingly, design values are calculated and taken into account by our building construction fraternity. But while making a road like this, while investigations are also being done, what are the kind of soil condition? Even then, it has failed in this manner. And think about that, if there could be, instead of road, if there could have been a building or some other facility, then what would happen to that? So you can imagine many things. But somewhere that we as an experts who are working in this area, they have to take certain decisions. Like, let us allow this road to fail in this manner. Let us allow the road to fail in this manner, and we take care of the things. This is what, within 6 days, the road was brought to normal operation. So you see that the kind of decision making, that expertise in this area are limited, and it is a remote possibility to take into account of the resilient behavior of the road conditions or soil over this against an earthquake, that which often happens in Japan, or it happens in our country also. So it is rather allow the things to fail and see that develop certain kind of expertise and machinery and tools and technique by which we can bring back these failed things into the normal condition. It may be 6 days, or even we have got even in few hours also things are brought to normal condition, especially when our border roads organization or defense development organization, they work in the hilly area in our border area where roads are severed by either say snow avalanche or by landslides. Then how quickly those roads can be cleared. Strategic roads are there. So that is one, again, the response team with this machinery. Response team only doesn't involve to reaching to the people that who are affected, but to reach to the people, we need to keep the roads are also intact, or if roads are blocked, they are to be cleared. Or so that kind of response also have got many dimensions. I would like to show you now, because I have gone too much towards that what is happening. Do you see anything here in this staircase that any kind of, can anyone point out that there is some kind of defect, mismatch, or there are certain design, or there are certain performance oriented thing in mind where designer experts, they in fact kept it like that? Can anyone tell, or can anyone identify over here, which the photo is shown before you? Of course, we don't have any one-to-one communication, but do you see that certain kind of features which are kept deliberately, keeping earthquake safety? Means earthquake shakes the ground. When earthquake shakes the ground, when buildings have to be brought up over the ground, then when we are providing the base isolator, you can easily define what is base isolator. When ground is separated or ground is being isolated, But still, how can a building stand on a base, on a foundation, on a lower part of the building? Lower part is isolated. How come that isolation is possible? So isolation is possible that when ground vibration will be there in a horizontal direction like this, then what are the kind of isolator to be provided? Of course, I will not go into those details. There are many other ways, dampers or energy dissipation devices, friction dampers. There are several devices are being made available for the last 35, 40 years to make earthquake safety a reality. And here is one building in Noida Sector 5. You can always see that which was made and now it is available publicly. Anyone can visit over there. So what you can see, I show you, it is like this one, this portion. But if any visitor comes and who are unconcerned about earthquake safety, because handrail are given for a smooth, especially for the senior citizen to go along, when some smoothness has been broken in this way, it looks very odd. Some people might take some photographs and say, you see, what a mad structure that we are seeing. Those who do not want to know, or those who are not. And you see, this is isolated because lower portion of the building is with the ground, with the foundation. When foundation will be, foundation is having certain kind of isolator. I will show you later on. You see, this is the upper part of the building, and below this one, especially this one, this is lower part of the building. And then this staircase you see, it is supported on these two brackets over this. It is supported on this upper part of this building. So this kind of steel frame is being provided up to this here, and so that this portion of the staircase, whatever load is coming over here, it is being taken up by this one, which is in turn supported or which is being riveted with the wall. And here you can see some gap. Means this portion, along with this handle, you can see this handle is with the with this kind of staircase. This one with the lower portion, this portion of the staircase. So it is the application of the base isolator is made in such a way that you can see that same portion, taken the photograph in a different angle, you can see there is some gap between upper portion and lower portion. So, and here also that gap is being maintained over here. That gap is being maintained throughout. So this portion of the building is with the foundation below the ground. Upper portion is separated. Now you may say that when only this part is with the fitted with the, this is the L section, so this is with the upper part. Now you may say that where upper part is being supported. So isolators are provided in such a way that they will not allow any load, whichever due to earthquake that this is shaking, they will not allow this shaking to be transmitted to the upper portion. So for that, you know, since 1980s, many such manufacturing agencies that they have come up following the specification. And again, not that it will not allow, but whatever load is there, upper portion, like this is finally the upper portion load is there, that load is to be transmitted. So something will be there, but the load will transmit through this vertically, but it will not allow horizontal load to be transmitted to the upper portion. That is the concept of isolator. So here you can see the difference, and here you see that the building that which I have taken a side photo, the red colored over here, this one. So all this column which is carrying this load, and this is isolator is provided over here. So when this one is vibrated like this, then this isolator, it is not allowing this horizontal force to be transmitted to the upper one. And so all the load coming over there, including this one. In fact, whatever you see, it is with the upper portion, but finally the load is transmitted through this column, which is connected to the bottom, that is foundation. There is one basement also is there. You can see some other scenario also in this building. These are all, pump, especially fire pump and other pump. And if because these are placed at the basement, so basement will be shaken due to earthquake, but these are placed in the basement. So basement is anyway, it is going to shake because we wanted to make this superstructure to be isolated. So when earthquake will come, then it will, along with the basement and lower portion, it will be dancing in tune with the earthquake. So in that case, whatever is the installation is there in the building, how we can make, because these are on the basement, so basement is going to be shaken. So basement is going to be shaken. In that case, you see there is one such thing like this they are putting over here. These are the some kind of when this one will be shaken. So these are some kind of tube that they are keeping. Is flexible enough. There are certain pipes and other things which I'll show in details. So these are flexible enough here. These are rigid. These are not, this is rigid, but the connection between them, they are flexible. So there are some rubber tubes, specialized rubber tube are being used. And another thing is, because this is going to be shaken like this, so they have provided special devices over here. Special devices over here. So entire load of this one, it is being isolated by this kind of devices. So I'm not going into those details because that will be a separate one. Here also you can see. So in the base itself, where the pumping devices and everything is there, they are also made that vibration-proof device. We know in many silencer are given in the scooty or many motorbike and other things. So here it is also that whatever shaking or vibrations, some kind of springs are provided. So those springs do not allow the horizontal shaking to be transmitted to the load that it is. So they take the load, shocker kind of things, they are being arranged. So load will be transferred, but they will not allow any kind of vibration to be transmitted into things. Because if vibration are going there, all these joints will be severe. So here also isolation is there, and in between this one and this part, there are certain kind of rubber tube or kind of system is there, which dissipates energy and which doesn't allow any kind of breakage of the things. Then more importantly, you can see all the pipelines in that buildings, because in the buildings we have got the gas pipeline, PNG people, it is all rigid. And we have got sewage pipeline, it's all rigid, they are fixed. But in this building, you see, all are flexible. So, and this is that isolator. So from the upper portion, which is supported on this isolator, to the bottom portion, the connection here, it is completely by this flexible pipe. So these are the main features of making, not only that only isolator here is being provided, but all the connections like handrail that you see, they are to be separated. So you can visit anytime, it is publicly available, and they have made a nice video of the construction over here. And so it is worth to see in our city, especially Noida, Sector 5, that such kind of building is existing, and they are using it for their office purpose. You see that how nicely that connection between isolated part and upper part, that base part and upper part, they are being connected. Water supply pipeline or sewage pipeline, everything is flexible enough. And also there are generators. We cannot avoid running an office without any generator or even switch, switch transmission and other things. They are all being arranged or supported on such kind of stopper. Here you see that these are not only taking the load, but also spring system is there, so that due to earthquake, because this is not on an isolated, this is not on the upper part of the building, this is the basement or even ground portion of the building, which is not isolated, which is outside the building, that which you can see over here, this building. It is isolated, it is on this base. This base is not, this portion where car parking is there, this is not isolated. Isolation is only this portion. So when earthquake will be there, all this portion will also vibrate in tune with this base vibration. So in that case, whatever is being placed over here, including this one, these things, or these things, they are to be taken with special care about, so that horizontal vibration doesn't transmit to the main machinery. Okay. So again, it is of course one construction that I wanted to show. People, here you see, it is up to this already normal construction is there. Above this, some construction is being made. Generally, we make it with whatever bricks or reinforced cement. But this construction is specially made with a lightweight construction material, lightweight structure. And in fact, all the things from outside and inside, you can see that it is same as whatever building is here. But it is all this rooftop construction that which is being promoted these days, which are safe, lightweight. I see that they are lightweight. So, and they are being affixed here with some bolt so that they remain due to earthquake. This building, the lightweight means what is the approximate weight of this building. It is all calculations when it is taken into a table in a tabular form. You see that the weight of this building, entire building, one full height building, including the weight of all these things, and these are hollow wall, but filled up with glass wool and other things. Generally 25 to 30% of the normal building weight. So, you know that when we make a lightweight structure with such kind of frame and which are rigidly connected, but this frame is there, so then this is one of the way to avoid earthquake effect into a building, either for retrofitting or also adding some kind of, you know, floor space, which is in a congested area in this manner, which is considered to be making rooftop construction with lightweight structure is taking up very fast in the among the you know, people that who are living in the city area, congested area. So this is one area. Now let us come back to, there are who doesn't know or who are not familiar with such kind of event that happening post disaster health checkup. So health checkup here, in this case, health checkup of existing one is that we should not put any extra load over the things. That is what everybody knows. We should not put any extra load onto this kind of existing one. If you want to add more space over this, the decision from the expert is that you should not add too much of load, or the load is rather add something that which is lightweight. So this is one way to look into checking the existing condition and then taking care of creating something extra with whatever modern contemporary technology available, suitable to that site situation where no load can be added. So at least lightweight structure can be added, 1 floor, 2 floor, or whatever way that expert that they decide. This is one way to look at. And another thing is, when we look at, you see this kind of things that happen, it did not happen all in a sudden. So it gave some kind of symptom. Hill is being cut while making the road. So when hill is cut while making the road almost vertical, how they are going to impact the road after a year or two, when during rainy season, or even after some time when heavy truck or heavy loads are there. So here, you know, after the event happened, this is in fact one of the team taken up in the PDNA team of NIDM, who have visited 8 states recently. And then they have taken this photograph while visiting many of these states, including Assam. And so they have taken this photograph that this is the scenario they have seen. So they simply taken that photograph which is being made available while they are going to submit it into the form of a report. That when we look at from the civil engineering or geotechnical engineering, geology, engineering geology aspect, first we look at that why the road is being extended where water is there in this manner, why vertical cut when it is made for extending the road, why it is not protected, why it is not protected, because any day they may come in. Now it has come here, something, some other time it will come here also. Where is a drain over here? So as I said, even before also, before any construction, we take care of the site condition. We take care of the requirement. We take care of the what is the road size and traffic, what is the load is expected. During rainy season, how much rainfall is there? What kind of drainage measures to be taken? So these are all a detailed project report. These are all being, submitted or assessed by the expert. Then only road construction is made. But in many cases, road construction are made. Hill has to be cut because it cannot go because this is a water body. So you have to go this side. And when this side we have to go, we have to cut the hill. When you cut the hill, then what are the congestion or site conditions that being faced? And if this portion is remain untreated or unchecked and no drainage is there, so someday, and now it is broken over here, someday this entire road will go there. So this is what that assessment during or assessment after, which is a single symptom that it has given over here, it will be transmitted to here also, or new generation of the symptom of failure will be coming when it is going to rain over here. So such kind of things. Then another thing is that, as I said, it is in Himachal Pradesh. Some people, they take care of, now building is constructed like this. So I have just taken the photograph because when this our PDNA team has visited, you see that it is visited on 30th September, and photographs and with all authenticity, with latitude, longitude, everything is there. It is all, everything is there. And how public or people or privately, community, they are taking care of menace of these landslides when buildings are constructed in this manner, privately or whatever it is, whatever rules and regulation, it is all, it doesn't matter when it is a question of constructing something, occupying the space. It is a right, it is taken as a right, but under what conditions that this construction is going to survive, and what kind of certification or authenticity from the civil engineer or road engineer or PWD or municipal authority, that as a private person or even whoever is the authority, or it may be a public property. So what kind of health checkup before, now, during, when it is raining, and what kind of measures is being taken over here by providing such kind of, polythene cover so that rainwater doesn't enter. So I think you will agree that such kind of measures, when taken up just to avoid rainwater directly entering into that, it is not a fruitful measures. These are all temporary. These are all just to keep things that, okay, let water should not enter. But ultimately, it is going to create a lot more trouble until and unless it is addressed authentically by the experts. Just in the second photograph that I have shown, there are certain experiments. I can show you this video directly over here where I have taken a screenshot. Let me go to that video itself. Yeah, this one. I go to that video directly over here. Okay. Yeah. Is it audible? This video?
No, sir. No, sir.
No.
No audio. But we
Coming?
can see it. But we can see it very clearly.
Okay, I share this.
For audio, there is some different sharing option. ऑडियो के लिए सर दूसरे तरीके से शेयर करना पड़ता है. Only then audio can come.
Okay.
Like we go on WebEx, and in the
Okay.
upside there is option of file, edit, share.
I see screen share. Okay, share. But it is showing to.
No, sir, not this. WebEx की स्क्रीन के ऊपर, WebEx की स्क्रीन के ऊपर जाइएगा. इसे 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 ऑफ कर दीजिए. इसे ऑफ कर दीजिए. शेयरिंग ऑप्शन
Okay.
बंद कर दीजिए आगे.
Sharing. You are sharing your screen. So when I'm sharing my screen, then I can show this one. This is coming.
Yes, sir, it is coming.
Now it is okay.
साउंड नहीं आएगा सर. साउंड ऐसे नहीं आता है. साउंड के लिए वो दूसरा ऑप्शन है. वो आई डोंट नो कि सब में आता है या केवल होस्ट के पास होता है.
Earlier it used to come.
But
But screen can be shared, is it?
yes, sir.
Screen is still.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So you saw that that how again I am showing this one. It is a 6-story building, 6-story plain frame building, which we often construct even 100-story also, 150-story also. It is being shaken in a with an earthquake which is generated here at the base on a shake table, and when it is shaken, see that this earthquake instrumentally it is regenerated into this plain frame building, and where it is being broken, it is at the bottommost floor that it is being broken. And if you remember that car which is under the plain frame in the second photograph in the first slide, it is all due to this reason that where substory is here, and that is why this building is broken. And at this place, these are all explained and very nicely by this video. So we have had, structure is very safe. It is as per design. But when it is shaken by earthquake, then this portion versus this portion, because this is connected with the foundation. Here you see these are rigidly connected over here. But the moment this is being shaken like this, then at this joint, it will experience shear forces that which will be depending on that how many floors are there, how much is the dead load of the building. So whatever, and this junction is not enough to take the shear forces generated by shaking of this one, by shake table, where an earthquake has been regenerated, and the total dead weight of this building is being activated over here, and then things fail over this. So this is how soft story or steel floor, they are dangerous in the earthquake prone area.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, Jayanta sir has joined now.
Okay. So let us welcome.
Yes. So, okay. Maybe sir is here.
Yeah, exactly.
Sir, you can switch on your video, sir. Hello, sir.
Okay.
He's here, I think. Yes, he's here. Oh,
Yes, yeah. Am I
Oh,
audible?
yes.
yeah.
I'm so
Nice.
sorry that in
No.
between
That's
I
good.
was missing because there is some meetings going on in the institute, and I had to jump from one meeting to another, and I just took a few
But we are
minutes.
happy that you have been able to manage your meeting
Uh,
for some time with us.
uh,
And
Let,
it's
so
my yeah.
let
It
me
is always like
let me
getting
pop.
you from the Guwahati to Rajdhani here in Delhi. But of course, we are now open to, because it is online, open to the whole world.
yes.
Your experience and your association in the earthquake engineering profession, as well as teaching and research, as well as the today's topic is health assessment or critical infrastructure. It is known and it is venerated, and your intervention in many of the earthquake related things, that especially for that state, Guwahati and Assam's entire northeast, that is well known for us, and it is an honor for us to be with you for some time, whatever time that you can manage, sharing your experience to our participants, which are here patiently waiting. Uh,
So,
Professor Jayanta.
so, so let me introduce him formally for our participants. This is our next speaker for today's webinar, Dr. Jayanta Pathak, Professor. He is a faculty of Civil Engineering Department from Assam Engineering College, Guwahati. Sir has completed his PhD from IIT Roorkee in 2002, and Sir has around 3 decades of academic experience in the field of civil engineering, earthquake, and structural engineering. Sir has a life member of Indian Society of Earthquake Technology, and Sir has a strong professional skills related to the field of computer-aided design, structural and earthquake engineering, and strategic planning. So, Sir, welcome to you for this
Yes.
webinar, and uh, we are very much बहुत ज़्यादा सौभाग्यशाली हैं कि आपने
नहीं
टाइम
तो
निकाला अभी.
it is other way around, when NIDM invites you to participate in a webinar, it itself is a great recognition for anyone around the country, because NIDM is such a such level of national institute which is enriched by people like Dr. Chandan Ghosh and others. So my namaste to Ghosh sir, Agarwal, Dr. Agarwal, namaskar, as well as the you have spoken, you have introduced me. It was a very kind introduction. I am a worker. I'm just learning few things I learn from Dr. Ghosh time to time. And यहाँ पे क्या है ना, आसाम में कुछ काम करना पड़ता है, तो राजधानी से दूर है, इसलिए राजधानी के लोग मिलते नहीं, तो हमारे पास आ जाता है, हम कर लेते हैं, यही है और कुछ नहीं. So actually I was trying to share my presentation from here, but I am joining from my iPad. I was having technical difficulty, so I have mailed my presentation. So if it could be shared, I am
Yes,
not going to
yes, sir.
present
It is with
anything
me.
new.
I can share. I can share.
Kindly, okay. So if I'm not wrong, you are Shreyas.
Yes, sir. I'm sure.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Shreyas. Thank you. So if you can, because I am just representing some of the slides on request of Dr. Ghosh, that I am just trying to remind people about the last earthquake we had on 28 April. In fact, we had a webinar on this about the damage assessment. Subsequent to that, there has been quite a good recovery, and I'm not trying to scare the participant by showing some of the damages, but as in continuation to what Dr. Ghosh has said, that open ground story building or the ground floors are under tremendous stress, and most of the time we remain worried about their performance. So we are talking about the health assessment of critical facility. We are talking about health assessment of critical facility. So here I will not basically would be showing about critical facilities. I would be showing some of the structures which suffered extensive damage. So, uh, but in addition to that, I would like to share with you a few of our experiences, of which I am not sharing the slides as of now. Just to tell you that, we did a extensive assessment of the hospital buildings in Guwahati, and this project was at some point of time was reviewed by Dr. Ghosh. He came, I remember, many years before, I think 6-7 years before he came, NIDM people came, NDMA wanted to have a review, and then subsequent to that, though that particular document was accepted as a best practice document for assessment. So what we found in that exercise, we did about assessment of 100 hospitals in Guwahati city, which had government hospitals as well as private hospitals. Government hospitals, very large hospitals, about 1,000-bedded Guwahati Medical College Hospital, which is kind of the lifeline for the people of Assam. We have now many medical colleges coming up in Assam, and in all the medical colleges, government has been emphasizing that these facilities should be earthquake safe. As you all know, people go by the codal provisions, they design the building, but building designs are done at different level. Many of the practicing engineer, we find that they do not realize the dynamics of the buildings. And at, at, at even in spite of using several software, what happens that the engineer fails to understand the response of the building for a given earthquake dynamically. And in many cases, we have found that because of the asymmetry of the building, because of the mass irregularity in the building, because of other aspects, the behavior of the buildings is far different from the assessment made by the static analysis by the practicing engineer. Of late, we have found that practicing engineers are understanding the importance of dynamics. Of course, as we all know, those practicing engineers who are into earthquake engineering, the finding the eigen solution of the building is very important. Understanding the time period of the building and how the building is going to behave at different mode of vibration. So once that is corrected or correctly analyzed, rest of the things fall in line. But in many cases, we find the design which was made based on on a assessment of the forces are far different from the behavior of the building. The behavior will be different as and when the building is becoming more and more asymmetric and more complicated. The more and more complicated the building is, my analysis has to go from static linear to non-linear dynamic. But unfortunately, not many of our engineers are equipped with that amount of knowledge that they can actually analyze a building at non-linear stage, or considering the different dynamics, assessing the time period or correcting it even. So sometimes what we do, we follow the drawings given by the architect, try to model a building in the software, and then we start working on it. So we found, but when we are trying to see these hospitals, we found that many of the hospitals, even they don't have their structural drawings available. So what we did, we worked on the basic, the parameters of defining the structure, its irregularities and all that. And we also worked a lot on the non-structural vulnerability of the building. So we found that how the oxygen cylinders are organized inside the building, how the contents are secured inside the building, what is the condition of the intensive care unit, how the monitors in the ICUs are secured. Because many a times what happens that if, in spite of not having a very large earthquake, even in a moderate earthquake, many of the equipments may go off their support and they may not be operating during and after earthquake. That becomes a major problem in the hospitals. So we actually could do a vulnerability matrix of the hospital, primarily looking at the non-structural performance, expected non-structural performance, and we worked with the hospital to correct few things. And we were happy to inform you that during 28 April earthquake, none of the hospital in Guwahati had any non-structural failure, at least. And that was one of our experience. Of course, currently we are doing seismic vulnerability analysis of the power systems in Guwahati city, which is funded by World Bank. But at this point, I am not in a position to share our findings. The project is going on and likely to be completed by this December. Maybe at some point of time, we'll be able to share with you in another occasion what we found with the power systems. Now, coming back, because it is about critical facility, so maybe in another occasion, if Dr. Ghosh gives me an opportunity, I would love to present our findings to the audience in some another time.
Sir, please let me know when to change the slide. So
yeah, you are almost doing it.
okay.
So now when we are talking about the shaking of that 28 April earthquake of 2021, and it is more than a year now, you can see it was, of course, by some, it was a very strong shaking. So the shaking was about 7 to 8 scale. 7 to 8 is a large scale because maximum scale is 9. So around the epicenter, the shaking was very high. So I'm starting from where Dr. Ghosh has left. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So if we look at the ground shaking, and we didn't have, unfortunately, we are working on it. Guwahati doesn't have an extensive array of SMAs even today. That is where we are concerned. And we are working on a project with IIT Guwahati together with Assam State Disaster Management Authority to put up about 12 SMAs around the city, so that in the event of an earthquake, we at least know how the shaking was happening within Guwahati city. If you know that there was a micronization of the Guwahati city, and this micronization tells us that the entire city is going to behave differently in the event of an earthquake, because the bedrock profile in Guwahati is ranging from 2-meter depth to 200-meter. So the soil depth is so varying within the city that there is a variation in the amplification within the city, and resulting in different damage pattern within the city itself. Guwahati city is about 500 square kilometer, which is quite large, and this is larger than Singapore and half of Hong Kong. That is just to give you an idea. So it has got about more than 1 lakh of built buildings, which we studied during another project. So about 1,27,000, 1,50,000 buildings we have, small and large. And many of these buildings, of course, are vulnerable. And when we have this shaking was in Tezpur, which is about close to, I would say, about 100 kilometers from Guwahati. But we had amplified ground motion within Guwahati, and USGS, when we look at USGS shake map, we found that the shaking in Guwahati was about 12 to 18%. So in some of the areas, which is towards the southern side of Guwahati, where depth of the soil is quite large, bedrock profile is low, that's where the peak ground acceleration was amplified to the amount even 18% of G, which is almost close to the design basis earthquake we consider in designing building for zone 5. As you all know, we are in zone 5, and our expected peak ground acceleration is 36% of G, and design basis acceleration is about half of that, which is 18% of G. So in a way, the building stock in Guwahati in some areas were subjected to design level earthquake during 28 April. So it was, of course, a great experiment on the building and its quality and the design practice and everything together. And we found that out of about thousands of apartment buildings which are open ground story, 60 buildings suffered extensive damage. Of course, there was no collapse, which was, we could actually retrofit many of the buildings. However, several buildings suffered damage, and then when we found that whatever his code is saying about the asymmetry in distribution of masses, asymmetry in distribution of stiffness, and asymmetry in orientation of columns were the cause of such damages. We can go to the next slide, please. So if we look at this slide, we find that certain areas towards the southern side, in fact, there was amplification and there was areas which are prone to liquefaction. But of course, there was no report of any liquefaction within Guwahati. There was some liquefaction around the epicenter, not around Guwahati, but areas having alluvium overlay was showing quite a large number of a large amplification. This is where you see the epicenter. Away from that, near Guwahati, you have higher peak ground acceleration. The wave traveled and got amplified again. If you see the small yellow dots towards the lower part of the screen, that's where the Guwahati is, and you can see the acceleration actually got amplified away from the epicenter because of the alluvium. So Guwahati has this issue, and which is understood through microzonation, and therefore in many areas you will find, unlike Delhi, in Guwahati most of the buildings are actually sitting on pile foundation. But the size and length of these pile foundations are of course debatable. In many areas, we do the design of this pile foundation for general, static load, and in some cases, though after microzonation in the last revision, there is a stipulation that in some areas, all the liquefiable areas, during soil investigation, you have to carry out liquefaction potential analysis and advise the structural engineer to adopt length of pile which is adopted based on the liquefiable depth of the soil. But in many cases, of course, in large projects, there is large investment, more senior engineers, experienced engineers are involved. But in some cases, uh, it's not happening because in many projects, sometimes these provisions are ignored or not understood by the practicing engineers. Anyway, next slide, please. So as you can see here, when we look at the spectral acceleration for 0.3 seconds, G plus 2 to G plus 4 storied buildings, about 0.2 Z near epicenter. We have 36% of Z. So near epicenter, the large yellow circle is around the epicenter, which is about 20% of G. Very, it was above the design basis earthquake and was going towards the maximum considered earthquake level. In Guwahati, away from the epicenter, we had about 12% of G. So which was a quite high acceleration. Next slide, please. So we had structural and non-structural damages during that particular event. During field assessment, it was COVID, as you all know, and we had an webinar during that time. If some of you attended, you would remember that there was COVID in the peak, and we had an earthquake. So there was a double impact, and we had to be very careful while doing the field assessment. There were two challenges: to remain isolated from the crowd and to be safe from COVID. At the same time, you have to go and see the building. So it was a very challenging situation. And it was observed that about 65 numbers of buildings found affected in the earthquake. 19 numbers of buildings were found to have structural damages in columns. There were flexural cracks near beam column junctions, shear cracks due to lack of confinement and ductile detailing. There were short column related cracks. There were hairline cracks in the junction of concrete during casting. What we found that in most of the buildings, we had these cracks in the construction joint. When we do the casting of RCC buildings, we have this column raised up to some level. Then in Gujarat and in Delhi, they call it topi, and here we have column head. So we cast a part of the column along with the slab. So we have a joint in the concrete in the column, top end of the column. And we found that most of the cracks were originating at that particular joint. We advise people to use epoxy and all. Sometimes what happens, you do the column and then you bring the slab casting. There is a gap of about a month or 2 months sometime. So when you have an old concrete and new concrete to be joined, we advise that you use epoxy at the joint so that the old and new concrete gets joined effectively. Sometimes it is not done. Sometimes there is honeycomb, and that was another reason why that area becomes weak, which is the most demanding area actually, remains weak, and it becomes a location which is sitting there to be affected and by a probable earthquake in future. And then, of course, there was spalling of concrete covers. There were diagonal, horizontal crack in the brick infill walls, which is quite natural in a moderate earthquake. And there were cross-diagonal cracks in some infill wall. We can go to the next slide. I will show you some photographs for you to understand what happened. So on the extreme left, this is the uh, Taj Hotel in Guwahati. There was no structural damage. This is a 5-star hotel, and the architect wanted to have granite in the vertical face, granites. And these granites were not properly, what we say, connected or attached to the concrete work or brick work. In many cases, heavy granites are bolted. And what happened? The structure was all right, even the glasses were all right. These granites were separating and falling, and there were a few people, one or two people got little injured. And sometimes what happens, these kind of things may actually may not be so serious for the structure, but it could be so serious for the occupants, And the hotel was shut down for about a month, and lobby area was absolutely damaged. You can see cracks originating at the corner of the window. Then of course there are cracks near the point where we are fixing the fire extinguisher. When we are fixing the fire extinguisher, we have fixed the fire extinguisher just by bolting it to the wall and actually making that area already weak and sitting for another impact during earthquake, and cracks were originating from there. Boundary walls without proper vertical connection and horizontal bonding simply fell off. Next slide, please. Shreyas, I'm just troubling you. Sorry about that. Yeah, there were snapping of
No issues,
power
sir.
lines. There were snapping of power lines near the epicenter. And of course this was restored immediately by Assam Power Distribution Company Limited. Not much of power disruption, but we are now, as I told you, we are working on a project. We are trying to see the disruption that can be caused by scenario earthquake in Guwahati. These are some of the lifeline damages. Next slide, please. And there was, you can see the ground rupture and slope failure. This is near epicenter. Huge slope failure. Huge slope failure. You can see it's quite a unstable geology. And there were, cracks in the surface. So this was the extent of the shaking near the epicenter, near Tezpur, and which is about 100 kilometers from here. Next slide, please. This is how we had observed damages in the columns near the beam column joint. Next slide, please. This is one of the apartment building. There were very visible shear and flexural crack, and there were masonry wall in the open ground story area which had to take the impact of the shear, and there was cross diagonal crack indicating that there was quite a large shaking. And when you have a cross diagonal crack, you get to know that the entire wall is absolutely there is collapse and we have to redo it. Next one, please. You get cross diagonal crack when you have a long duration motion going back and forth for quite some time. It has to go back forth several times to have a cross diagonal crack. That gives you an idea about the onset of the earthquake. This was of course a non-engineered building. The structure was not properly designed. You can see on the right slide that there is no confining reinforcement, and there was extensive damage to this building. And building was asymmetrical in the sense that there was an open area, then they have closed some of the panels without understanding how it can actually modify the stiffness and make the building go for a torsion. Torsion was the cause here, and because of torsion and lack of ductile detailing, there was damage to the building. Next slide, please. You can see here. In fact, in one apartment building, we found that the society modified one part of the open ground story by constructing a store, and while doing that, they used steel members. They used steel angles and channels, and they thought that is quite innocently they converted one area to make it a store, and that store area actually caused, because when you connect steel members between two columns, it increases the stiffness tremendously, and that entire store area got damaged. In fact, also bringing in some damage to the column itself. You can see the column has got a diagonal crack at the upper end. Next slide, please. So when we connect pipes and connect steel and other things to RCC, sometimes we think there's a small extension, but that extension could be dangerous and modifying the structural response of the building for which it is not designed for. These are some of the cracks in the landing area. Next slide, please. In many of the buildings, the fire exhaust pipe, and in many buildings we found that they are connecting these. Later on, the service connections are done very insensibly. You can see the open area under the landing where there is a sudden loss of stiffness because it is mostly under landing. You can see in the middle picture they have connected it fire line, wet riser, and they have used the landing area and they have kept it open. Because of this, there is a short column failure in the columns which are supporting the landing. Next one, please. So these are some of the damages. Next one, please. Similar issues. Next one, please. These are all open ground story building. This building was having a huge quality issue. This building is still being retrofitted. It's taking a lot of time. The concrete quality was absolutely bad, and you can see the service connections which are connected through the column. There was seepage, and seepage was into the column, and column reinforcements were corroded. The concrete quality was bad. The sizes of the columns are all right. The sizes of beams and columns are absolutely all right, but the quality of concrete was so bad, and the service connections were made in such a precarious condition that everything together and increased the vulnerability of the structure. Next one, please. So similar situation, you can see extreme right photograph. There's a short column failure, because when you make the column short, the shear force increases. That breaks the column. These are again some of the cracks we have, and when we investigated, these cracks are not too deep into the concrete. Those were grouted and retrofitted. Even in some cases, we use fiber reinforced polymers to strengthen the column. Next one, please. Extensive damage again in another building. So we had similar kind of damages in all the 60 buildings had some amount of damages ranging from small to large damages because of the irregular response of the structure, which is not understood during design. Next one, please. See, whenever we are connecting the steel pipes to the structure, adequate arrangements are not made, and those steel pipes and concretes are not going to vibrate at the same frequency. They separate out. So steel being stronger, it breaks the concrete. So we should be very careful about fixing these weight risers into the building. The weight risers are very important, but while fixing them, we should understand how these weight risers should be behaving during earthquake and how the rest of the building would be behaving. And they have different frequencies. They will try to go differently, and at some point of time, if they're not married well, they will divorce. So that's what happens during the earthquake. Next one, please. Walls getting separated from the structural. These walls are not having dowel bars. Next one, please. Again, short column failure. You can see the under the landing, this is because they want to keep, and this landing is repeatedly being used for the steel pipes, wet risers, and they come later on after building is completed. Another vendor will come and they will connect it. भाई यहाँ लगाने से पानी ठीक से जाएगा बोल के लगा देगा, स्ट्रक्चरल इंजीनियर्स को पता भी नहीं चलेगा कि यहाँ पे कुछ लगना है बाद में आके, और when the earthquake comes, everything gets exposed. So I would say that this weight riser is a non-structural element, but it is causing a lot of stress to the structure itself. Next slide, please. And there was a building in Nagaon, which is again away from Guwahati. That building actually got tilted. It is on an isolated foundation, and it got tilted. And it was simply taking support from another building which was not tilted. So we are at present, we don't know what has happened to this building. The whole building, there was no local failure to any of the elements, but the whole building got settled in one side, and it was standing there because it was resting on the building which is close to it. So this is one of the major issues, and I don't know what they did. I heard that they were contacting some agencies to correct this, but as a whole, the building, there was no damage anywhere. But it was a big example of foundation failure. The structure is intact, the foundation failed. There was something wrong in proportioning the foundation. There was something wrong in investigating the soil underneath the building. Next one, please. Again, similar issues in the wall, separation of wall from the structure. Next one, please. Next one, please. So these are similar failures, and that proves that open ground story buildings have an issue. We have actually studied the open ground story buildings here, and we have given cost-effective solutions. And we did a collaborative project with IIT Guwahati and submitted to ASDAMA. That was just completed before COVID. So now it has been picked up, and we are trying to advise the societies as to how to see. When we try to correct open ground story, ideally, even if we do not do any analysis, if we try to continue the walls which can be continued from top to bottom, Dr. Ghosh always tells this in his presentation, kuch nahi karna hai, analysis bhi nahi karna hai, because there's a dramatic change in stiffness because you have removed the wall in the open ground. So you continue the wall which can be continued. That itself is a big, safety measures that we can take. Later on we can see through analysis, because we don't have time, and you don't know, the next earthquake could be just 1 hour after, 1 minute after, it could be next year. So we don't have time to keep on planning, thinking. तो हम तो ये बता रहे हैं कि जो भी वॉल को नीचे ला सकते हैं, everybody wants comfort in parking their cars without realizing that that is bringing in risk during earthquake. So if we continue some of the walls, I may have to maneuver my car a little bit to park and take it out, but that will make the building safer. So this we are trying to tell the apartment owners. Anyway, there was no much damage to the power supply, and power was restored immediately after the earthquake. There was no damage to water supply, and water supply remained unaffected. There was no reported damage from the institutional and government building, largely constructed by PWD and CPWD, assuming that probably some amount of engineering has been done. The reported damages were mostly from private apartment building. Of course, out of about 4,000 buildings, 60 buildings suffered damage. Out of more than 1 lakh building stock in Guwahati, about 20 buildings have reported structural damage, though several buildings reported cracks in infill walls. Next one, please. I think I am at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please.
It is over, sir.
In with normal water, which led to a very reactive action, and then led to hospitalization.
There were 30 slides only.
The nearby schools. So here also one kind of point which I want to highlight is like,
Shreyas, are you there?
that
Yes, sir.
it's normal
Am I
stuff.
audible?
It's, like they don't have an idea about what kind of chemical it is,
Hello.
and then how reactive it is, and then which to which elements these are. So this is also one of the
Am I audible, Ghosh, sir?
problem related to the
There is some connectivity issue, it seems, because Professor Jayanta,
Yeah.
I think her previously recorded voice is coming, but we are unable to connect with him, it seems.
where 12 people are killed and then over 500 people are
Maybe there is
How
some
this
network
voice is
issue.
coming?
hospitalized.
Are you sharing something?
So the one major point which we have
Okay, now it is fine. Mhm.
Okay. Some anything?
Seems some connectivity issue with Jan, sir. Now he's back. He's not available.
Oh,
Sir,
yeah.
your voice is not coming, Professor Jan.
There was some issue from his side, I think.
so
It is a nice presentation. In the meanwhile, let us continue talking.
industries.
Yes, sir, he is
yes.
joining again.
And then
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I am back. I
Uh-huh.
don't know till where.
Yeah. Now it's okay. Okay.
Completed. So I think I was at the end of my slide. So mostly I could show you some of the damages we had observed. So from my side, thank you very much. That's all.
Oh, excellent. You have shown to our participants about the failure that you have seen after the earthquake, and with all details, and especially in your beginning, you have noted that hospital building where I have visited several times.
Yes, sir.
And the kind of damages that hospital building has faced, most are non-structural.
Yes.
There is no substantial structural damage. And also giving a ready-made solution to look after in the last part of your presentation, especially sub-story as well as the separation of the wall that has become. And parking is essential.
Yes.
So in that case, in fact, lot of things are new technologies are coming up, but these are not yet aware enough. Like before your presentation, I was showing that how
Yes.
Resistoflex made a building here in Noida, which is open
Yeah.
for display, which is
Yes.
a truly base isolation. That how
Yes.
even foundation, then even all those this handrail, even like a
Yes.
staircase with a
Yes.
helical type staircase,
Hmm.
how it is separated, how the load is being
Yes.
taken up by the upper portion. Even in some cases, even lift is also, even lift. Even I have taken one video recently while going there. In fact, I would, if you have 2-3 minutes, I can share that video. I want to show it directly. Yes, that how lift is not supported at the bottom. It is from the top. It is also isolated. And I have gone bottom of the lift and took my own video there itself, which is very interesting.
You can share, sir.
Just only 2-3 minutes video is there, I think. Here. And in fact, of course, this one, that if soft story is there, then this kind of moment and shear force will be generated. If it is filled up with wall, then no, nothing, only forces are there. So this is what is. And this is that they have installed sliding pendulum isolator in that building. And this is how now they are coming forward in sub-story, cutting the column and then put the base isolator at the basement. Then, and how to make this kind of devices, jacking system, these are also available now. So cut the column, put the base isolator in the existing sub-story. And in fact, this is the building which is really constructed, which I have shown in my presentation. And also some of the things. And then I would like to share this one, the video that I would like to show. Yeah, it is here. Yeah, this one. Is the audio?
Voice is very low, sir.
Okay, voice is low, but I cannot help. I have given the full load. Any such connections with the surrounding? A lift doesn't have any connections with the surrounding. You saw the light there, which is light switched on the light, but it doesn't have any connections with the ground, basement ground. It is all pendant from the top, 5th floor. All around.
Actually, lift core can be used so effectively as a shear core, which brings a lot of strength to the building. And positioning the lift core effectively by the architect helps the structural engineer to make the building safer. But this thing,
Yeah.
we try to locate the lift so that it is easy for us to access and access the lift. We talk about all these functionalities. When it comes to safety, actually positioning the lift itself is so strategically can be done,
Yep.
making
Yep.
the building safer just by the lift core, or because it's an RCC core, very strong, stiffness is very high, and many
Yep.
times we fail to understand the locating the lift itself, strategically locating it itself could make the building much stronger. Putting the lift core in one corner causes torsion. If I have
Yeah.
two lifts,
Yeah.
sometimes I put two lifts in the same location, saying that it's easy to maintain and all that. But what about putting two lifts little away from each other, and in positioning in such a way that it can actually help the building to resist earthquake force better than putting them into one corner. So all these things we keep on telling the architects, because building is mostly, the building projects are initially for some reason are all guided and run by the architect. We keep on telling them. Here we have been able to make them understand few things, but many times the functionality, the look, the 3D view, the other things takes priority over the safety, and safety is something that we think. So these are continuing. I think we'll need few more years to understand all these and bring, and that also makes the building economical. If I can regular building with positioning of the lift in proper location in the planning stage itself, if engineering input is properly taken, a lot of building can be safer than what they are today. Yes, it's a good observation, sir. Sir, if you allow me, I'll have to take your leave. I have to go and
Yeah. It is. We are almost
continue my
finishing. Yes, another. We are just right on time in taking on this. So
Thank you so much, sir, for joining. And we have prepared a small token of thanks for yourself, and we will share it with you through email.
Okay.
And thanks for giving
Thank you
us
so
your
much.
valuable time, sir.
No, it's my honor, Dr. Ghosh. Thank you so much. It looks very nice. Okay.
Yeah, it will be shared with you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ghosh, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. So if you allow, then I'll take your leave.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So okay, I think.
So this is the
Is
hierarchy.
there any chat box? Anybody?
How can your
I
workplace
think
suggest me?
I'm going
So
to
if see,
make everyone panelist, and if they have any question or queries, they
yeah.
can ask
Oh,
by
okay.
themselves.
like
There is one question. Oh, it is a very big question from Kashid Kamar. Kashid Kamar, you can unmute yourself and ask directly, because it is a very big question you have written on chat box.
So what we focus is that prevention always
Kashid, am I audible to you?
go for the preparation. That means be prepared.
Yeah, Kashid, you are unmute. You can ask by yourself.
If the question is like the event.
Okay. In the light of health assessment of critical infrastructure in urban zones, please throw some light
So
On the traditional system of
play and mud house, integrating disaster issues and 21st century climate change issues in the rural area, by which report of down to earth is a requirement of rural area. In my view, building concrete house is a requirement of disaster resilience in urban settlements, but not the rural areas. So build concrete houses where it is needed. Need your expertise in this issue. Yes, you are very much right. When natural materials are available in plenty in the urban area, in the rural area, and traditionally concrete started only 50, 60 years back. Before that, everything was made of natural material and bricks that using that. But these days, that there are so many demand for the last 20 years. Government has made, Prime Minister's house, no, that PM Awas Yojana, and several crores of building being made for that. Specific designs are made, specific requirement of the building materials, which are seasoned to the which are appropriate enough to the climate or environment where it is to be built. So the project is still going on, but in most of the cases that making clay and brick and keeping in mind that what are the flood or rainfall that happening, what are the deterioration that are taking place. So going back to again, mud house and other things often subjected to the climatic conditions and which are not appropriately, resilient enough in that case. If you want to see that you don't have to look after that, especially sunlight and other things. Also, cyclone prone areas are there, even disaster prone areas are there. So if there is no place in the country that which are free from any level of hazards, whether it is earthquake, whether it is cyclone, whether it is flood. So keeping that thing in mind, and special requirement also are there in making building in the hill area, in the earthquake prone area, in the flood prone area, in the coastal area. So more important is that what are the site conditions, what are the local conditions that which these clay and mud houses have to take care of. So if that part is taken, then problem is solved. We can still keep it that as natural as possible. The problem in the last 50, 60 or 100 years that the kind of events and disaster that happening and flood that happening, urban flood has become a new word in our dictionary. So when these things are happening, then we have to become choosy enough based on the expertise that available. Even in rural area, you know that right now, Professor Jayanta Pathak was also discussing that it will take a lot of time and energy to aware people about the disaster resiliency, earthquake resiliency, flood resiliency, cyclone resistant houses. As no part of the country right now are free from any one or two way of hazard impact, then simply going for clay and mud house and which will not be enough to take care of the integrated disaster issue which you have mentioned in your question. The rest depends on site conditions. Yes, it is always welcome to stick to go back, to see, to rejuvenate, or to reassess our rural housing schemes are also there. Reassess them, just not that everything to be taken into concrete, but also see that with the upsurge of economy and people are coming here and there, everybody wants not only single story, even multi-story. So in that case, mud houses, if I remember, I know my village that where we had 2.5 story mud houses, which with a 2 feet, 3 feet thick mud wall, more than 100 years it had survived. But now these are not being made because they take a lot of care and there is no expertise much are documented or recorded in our Bureau of Indian Standards or guidelines. So going for clay and mud house is a kind of skill that which our forefathers, maybe one generation, two generations before, they have been keeping. Some reports are there. World Encyclopedia for Housing it also have given certain space for making such kind of authentic construction which are still surviving, and some documents are available. But motivating our people living in the villages, going back to their clay and mud houses, the way that they have been available, but our demand and choices and comfort and subject to many other, site conditions that which are demanding that we are keeping away from those things. concrete is not going to solve everything. Not anyone, but everybody is attracted to that because we can maximize our spaces when concrete, beam, column, and all these things are being used.
In our previous
Sorry, sir.
webinars also, we have
Good morning.
discussed a lot
Good afternoon,
about
sir.
some natural solutions,
Good afternoon, sir.
nature-based solution. Good afternoon. Who is this?
Sorry, sir. I was in library, so I can't speak, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay,
Sir, actually, sir, I
yeah.
was in Uttarkasi and Corn
Yeah.
village. I saw two like many houses that were built with stones and rocks and with bars of wood, like ancient wood, and those are like they said that those are 200 or
Yep.
to 500 years old
Yep.
houses. So what's the engineering behind that? What's the what shock they like?
Huh. But
Like,
those
what
houses,
kind of
more than Koti
like
Banal,
shock absorbent?
there are certain features that they have included in that. Putting horizontal bars in between, and every 1 feet or 2 feet, they're putting some horizontal wooden bar, which are considered as band. We recognized it as a seismic band, which is very effective in taking shear forces, in transferring shear forces of the building. So those are the building that with stone plus with wooden bar, both horizontally and vertically. So there are some traditional houses are there, but taking care of them, and making construction right now in the same manner is not affordable. Is not affordable because that kind of skill, that kind of material, and that kind of worker or the experts that which are generally they are from those are being taught as a subject in architect or planning courses, but we do not have much of the skill set remaining with the people who can make those construction, except some of the people who are having enough money to make their traditional houses or some of the extra or resort of that kind of quality, assuring that similar kind of natural and heritage look will be given. So those are being now nurtured in that area. But for the mass people, for the people of average who is not having enough, money or not given enough support or guidance, other thing is becoming obsolete, profession these days, which is not good, which is really unfortunate. तो
Anyone
वैसे
else?
तो आपके पास ऐसे बहुत सारे हैं, असम टाइप हाउस है, वो भी धीरे धीरे एक्सटिंक्ट होता जा रहा है। धजी दीवारी टाइप का है, वो भी एक्सटिंक्ट होते जा रहा है जम्मू कश्मीर में। ऐसे कोटी बनाल टाइप का स्टोन वाला ऐसे हाउसेस है हिमाचल में कई जगह, कांगड़ा एरिया में कई जगह में है, लेकिन धीरे धीरे इसका मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट और मटेरियल उपलब्ध कराना जो है इतना मुश्किल हो रहा है, और लोकल उनका जो भी स्किल सेट लोगों के पास में भी 10 साल 20 साल 25 साल तक जो भी रहा है उसका उतना डिमांड नहीं है। इसके चलते जो है पीपल आर गोइंग फॉर मल्टी स्टोरी बिल्डिंग और कंक्रीट कंस्ट्रक्शंस एंड अदर थिंग। अब क्या है, मैंने एक दो फोटो दिखाया है, लाइट वेट कंस्ट्रक्शन, स्टील फ्रेम कंस्ट्रक्शन, क्योंकि लाइट वेट होने के चलते पहाड़ी क्षेत्र में उसका जो है वो इजीली बनाया भी जा सकता है और वो अर्थक्वेक से उतना इफेक्ट नहीं होता है क्योंकि उसका वजन कम, ऐसा भी है।
In few webinars, we also promoted the nature-based solutions where you don't have to always use the concrete related the things, and you can use some nature-based options also. Participants, if you have any other question, you can ask directly or you can write in the chat box. Sir is with us, he can answer you.
Observations and then location of the output of the hazard information communication and what kind And finally,
If there is no question,
here
we
we can
can,
see,
I think
CPU
we
that
should
done.
move or
So if you
conclude
like
this session and
I know
end this
like
webinar.
you have
So
you
for
are
the
doing
last
with
concluding
worship.
remarks, I would like
So
to
simply
request
states
Dr.
the
Garima
total
Agrawal,
company's
ma'am,
information which
please conclude this webinar.
industry like if we talk
And
about
then
So
we
we
like
don't
can,
have
yes.
any questions, huh?
No, ma'am,
Only
don't
one
have
question.
Yes.
And so many participants we have.
Yes.
and hazard identification.
I am actually quite amazed to have these 2 hours of webinar. It is in itself is an experience, and we had 2 technical presentations from Professor Ghosh and Professor Jayanta, and we discussed how much it is important to conduct health checkup of the buildings, of the built-up infrastructure, pre-disaster as well as post-disaster. Investigation, which Professor Ghosh rightly said, that post-disaster investigation is also important to decide whether the buildings or infrastructure should be sustained or demolished, or what kind of action we should take after any such event. So various important areas related to mapping of structural vulnerabilities in built-up facilities, non-structural criteria in vulnerability mapping of the buildings, various deficiencies in construction practices, and the performance of buildings during earthquakes, and various solutions were discussed in today's webinar. We discussed, especially Professor Ghosh highlighted that how we should use base isolators, which can actually help by providing a cushion, like shocker-like cushion, which will allow the vibration to impact the joints of the building. So less breakage during the earthquake events. And he showed a model building also showing that how connections are important to improve strengthening of the building. And Professor Ghosh also discussed about various solutions, and one of them was like using like lightweight construction technology on the rooftops, especially considering the urban areas like Delhi where we need more spaces and we need safer solutions also. So this kind of solution help you to increase the residential space without adding much load on the existing structure. So we also discussed that how collapse of stilts, the open story buildings, can actually happen due to the shear forces and ground shaking, and sometimes safe construction can also be damaged due to the breakage of junctions, especially in the case of heavily built structure like six. Sir showed that how the floor building actually can perform if we have weak stilts. So we actually need expert advice to understand all these things, and engineer structure. The role of structural engineer is extremely important when we plan some building, some important infrastructure in our area. Professor Jayantha's presentation was actually complementing the presentation of Professor Ghosh by showing the pictures of structures which observed extensive damage due to earthquake happened in Assam during April 2021, and the magnitude of the earthquake was like 6.4, which is a high magnitude of earthquake. He highlighted that more complicated buildings were actually cause more difficult situation. And with the old buildings, there was a problem that we don't even have the structural designs and drawings available. He gave an example of a hospital building and indicated how much it is important to incorporate non-structural element safety in a building, as though even though buildings do not collapse sometimes, but a lot of damage happens due to non-structural elements of the buildings. He shared the field assessment reports, the findings of the reports of Assam earthquake, and indicated that about 65 buildings were affected by earthquake, and about 19 buildings were actually found with the structural damage in columns, in shear cracks, some hairline cracks, and so on. So many pictures he had shown. He had also explained an example of a non-structural element, importance of a non-structural elements by with an example of a hotel where the building was safe, but the granite tiles were falling, and which could cause serious damage to the people. If they fall on the occupants, then they could cause more damage to them. Maybe the building is safe, but the people who are living inside that building, they are not in the safe situation. So it's important that we need to take care of all these things when we design a building, when we say that building is safe. Important thing is that our lifeline structures should not get disrupted, and they should be safe in such situations, especially because they are critical in nature. The hospitals, the government buildings, the power, the water supply, and he indicated that most of these buildings and these critical facilities were not disrupted due to earthquake, and this shows that some of the engineering was actually involved because as the PWD or CPWD departments are actually involved in constructing these buildings. So the government buildings behave more, in a better manner than the private buildings. So these are the main issues which we flagged in this towards webinar. And towards the end, I would like to say that there is no denial that health of the existing infrastructure should be checked, and which can actually decide that what would be our future strategy of a particular building or infrastructure. And this assessment can help the occupier, also to the government and the policy maker, to make a strategy for reducing the existing risk of associated with the building. And we can take any mitigating impact solution for that, like maybe repairing or retrofitting work can be done for improving the strength of the structures. So with these concluding remarks, I would like to thank each and every panelist for sparing their precious time over here and making this webinar extremely useful to us. The participants who although could not ask many questions due to certain reasons, but they were with us for all throughout the 2 hours, and I could see that they must have learned a lot of things out of it. And with this, I will once again thanks everyone to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Sir, so we should end this.
Yeah, okay, we can end this session. Thanks to
Okay.
all the participants who have
Thank you.
been
Thank you
with
very
us.
much. Thank you, sir.
Participants can share
Yes.
their feedback as well.
Yes,
After
please.
this, by
Yes,
closing
participant, please share your feedback on the
Oh,
portal.
I can see Hari Kumarji is here.
Oh,
it. Okay.
Yeah, I can
sir is
see
here.
that something that he, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you this way, but okay, please
Yeah.
say something.
Yes, your experience is equally important.
Yes, sir,
to
you are
No,
a-
no, no.
particular topic.
Thank you. Thank you. It was wonderful, wonderful listening to all of you, and wonderful to, I'm currently actually, we are working on a infrastructure project in Guwahati with Jayanta sir.
Oh,
So it was
okay.
wonderful to him all over again. And
Okay.
great that, I accidentally came to know about this. Maybe we should have given more publicity to such an important webinar. But wonderful, wonderful
Yeah.
to both of you, sirs. And I'm
Mm.
sure everybody has gained a lot in this. And
Okay.
and then, sir, when you go to that base isolated building next, take me also.
Oh, it is anytime. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Actually, yes,
Okay.
sir. We should
Yeah.
go to visit such kind of place where we
Yes,
have
yes.
such
Yeah.
solutions available. We ourselves, actually, being a non-engineer, also we need to learn these things actually, so
Hmm.
that we are in this field. That is one part, but we need to actually educate our own people also, about these
Yeah,
issues.
yeah.
Not just the professional front, but the personal front also has to be taken care of. So
Let,
such solutions, how
let
to
us
implement
organize.
them on the ground.
Let
Yeah.
us organize.
Something which we can
Our
run.
physical program now starting. So we generally make a point to take all the engineers or whoever participants, especially, to visit that. And in fact, they have a big space to create earthquake awareness, like shake tables and everything. Everything will be funded by them. So last time, 2 weeks back, when I visited, it said that you make all shake table, and there are certain kind of, which we have been thinking, Hari, we have been thinking of having such kind of devices. Now they say that you please make all those devices which can be demonstrated to the public.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So they have a
Like
big
to.
10 meter in 30 feet by 60 feet space, one floor they are keeping at the ground. ground floor that which will be used for such kind of experiments and such kind of demonstration for
Wonderful.
public awareness. So we must visit there. and take
Yes,
it
sir.
forward.
Yes, sir. Let us, the next time you take participants, I will also please,
Yeah.
inform me. I'll join there.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
ठीक.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Wonderful. Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much, sir,
Okay.
for giving us a surprise.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
bye.
bye everyone. Bye.
Okay, bye.